What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pure Evil MMA podcast here in the afternoon. I mean, look, I'm back here doing it once again. I'm actually really proud of myself. You know, if we're going to be covering the sport of mixed martial arts and you see these guys go in and out every day, even after a crazy, brutal loss, they're back in the gym. Well, if you want to make it, they've shown us you got to put in the work, right? Got to put in the work. And man, it feels so good to be back. We've had so many people reach out excited. Even the last interview we did with Robert TQ Turnquest, Dylan Danis retweeted because TQ called him out on a retirement fight. It was one of the most exciting things that's happened really this week. But unfortunately, MMA world has gone mad, man. I tweeted something out last night about how I just have this weird, crazy feeling that 2022 in mixed martial arts is gonna be like the apocalypse. Like I've said it on the past couple episodes, it feels exciting to be an MMA fan again. But unfortunately, we always have some bad news, whether it's someone's DP picks coming out, whether it's Conor McGregor punching an old man in the face. But the only story that's going to top Cain Velasquez's story is what happened to Walt Harris, his stepdaughter, which we covered over at Pure Evil MMA. Amaya, her name was Amaya, I believe. That was one of the saddest stories. But today we've seen a lot of different takes on Cain Velasquez. Also, UFC 272 coming up with the fake friendship fight, or is it all real? We're going to be discussing that and looking at the rest of the card as well. I'm so excited to be getting back here and even earlier than normal. So make sure to subscribe down below, guys, here. If you're listening to iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever it is that you're tuning in, subscribe down below. If you're watching this live on YouTube right now, make sure to hit that notification bell, because without that, guys, I mean, you're not going to know I'm going live. I'm like all over the place. And you guys know that. I've been doing this for about 7 years. Look at me. I got my sports jacket on and my Vibe shirt underneath. Always going to keep it pure. Always going to keep it 100. And some surprising news. If you guys remember, I've been trying to sell merch for quite some time now. Here's one of the mugs I'm using as a pencil holder. But guys, I just released some new merch on my store. Let's go take a look at the store really quick, if I even have it up for you guys. Let's see. Nope, I don't. That's how professional I've kept this, huh? Window capture. All right. Here's a quick look at the store for people watching on iTunes or listening on iTunes. Unfortunately, can't see. Just designed some new earrings. I know that the leggings were a big hit. We got the neck gaiter, the snapback, which I actually freaking love this snapback. Take a look at this bad boy here. I'm about to order one myself. How can I represent the show without this? So you can't see it, listen to audio, obviously, but what I designed here is, I think, freaking amazing and pretty badass. We got the devil horned heart with a pure red rose growing through it, showing signs of purity on the back of the snapback. I only roll the snapback. I'm a snapback guy. We got the Pure Evil skull, and on the side, the Pure Evil MMA emblem. So we got that at the store. So go check that out at pureevilmma.storeenvy.com. I'll have that link down in the description below. I believe it actually is already there. So let's get into the craziness. The absolute craziness. After you follow me on Twitter at evil_echo, that's EVIL_ECCO. So let's get into the news. All right, so obviously the top headline this week is Cain Velasquez. I mean, what an amazing career he's had. If you watched him on The Ultimate Fighter, and it was like the first time, kind of seeing how he was outside of the cage, or if you watch former interviews, he seems like a nice, calm, cool, collected guy, but you step him in the octagon and he will beat the living hell out of you until he had that awful injury, and all the surgeries that he's had before his comeback. But a lot of people are taking sides here on this story. So if you've been under a rock lately, I'm going to catch you up right now. So this story just came out, and I want to warn audiences before we even get into it that this is pretty graphic and involves some pretty awful terms. So let's go to the internet and let's check out this article that just came out on ESPN at 4:42 yesterday. Cain Velasquez, former UFC heavyweight champion, charged with attempted murder. Now, pick any other fighter to put there besides Cain Velasquez. Why do you need a gun if you're Cain Velasquez? So if you're sitting there right now wondering what the hell happened? Well, former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez was formally charged Wednesday with attempted premeditated murder and multiple gun assault charges in relation to a shooting Monday night in San Jose, California, according to the Santa Clara County District's Attorney's Office news release. Velasquez, age 29, is accused of targeting Harry Eugene Gorlate, who is charged with allegedly molesting one of Velasquez's young relatives. Imagine the anger that you got in your heart. I mean, I remember when something similar like this happened in our family, and just somebody dear that I love with all my heart, and the father dealing with it. It's hard. Like, what do you do? I've seen charges of guys that have caught somebody molesting their child in a barn house and shooting and killing them. I've seen videos of parents that have gone to the court for the sentencing and have shot, I don't know if they've killed him, but shot at the pedophile. And you got to sit there and wonder, if that was your child. So apparently this was a preschooler as well. Let me throw that in there. Going on with this story ahead. According to the district's attorney's office, Velasquez was following Gorlate's truck in his own vehicle during an 11-mile high-speed chase through San Jose. An 11-mile high-speed chase with Cain Velasquez trying to shoot you down. That's when you know you fucked up. You fucked up bad, bro. You fucked up bad. Through San Jose, he rammed the truck and then fired a .40 caliber handgun multiple times into the truck, which carried Gorlate and two older relatives, Gorlate's 63-year-old stepfather, Paul Bender, who was struck once in his arm and torso, but is expected to survive, according to court documents. The sad tragedy is that Mr. Velasquez chose to take the law into his own hands, endangering the public and everyone in the truck, Santa Clara County DA Jeff Rosen said in a statement. This act of violence also causes more pain and suffering to his family, which is true. Because here's the poor family. You know, as soon as Cain most likely heard this news, found out about it, man, imagine that Cain Velasquez returning to the octagon with that kind of heat, man. And no one should ever feel that inside of them, that much anger. I mean, a preschooler, for Cain Velasquez to hear that and then react the way he did. He knew what he was doing. We've seen stories like this for years. Maybe not this, well, yeah, even this crazy, if you want to talk about the biggest bank heist in UK history. But, man, Cain Velasquez dealing with this. How do you side? Obviously, he needs to be punished for, I mean, he fucked up and shot the wrong person. he fucked up and shot the wrong person, which really sucks. Because if he did shoot the right guy, if he ended up shooting the right guy, I wouldn't feel any guilt at all. But unfortunately, he shot the wrong person, older stepfather, and I'm sure Cain feels awful about that. But it's not the point. That is not the point here at all. Now, I want to read some of the tweets that have been coming through. Of course, Dana White responding with, "I absolutely feel sorry for him and his family. It's a horrible thing. I don't know enough details to speak on it, but from what I've heard, we all say we do it if it ever happened to us." Cain did it. That was from Dana White. And there's a lot of fighters that are taking his back. And apparently Cain Velasquez attended a pro wrestling event with his family before the shooting. I'm getting this from Ringside News, who got this from Thirsty for News. Now, I want to bring up some of Nolan King, who has been covering a lot of this as well. I actually asked him to come on the show, me and him being friends for the past 7 years, but obviously he was busy. As first reported by various local outlets, MMA Fighting, SM, and others, Velasquez's bail arrangement will now be March 7th, so that's this Monday. Additionally, SJPD filed a gun violence protective order, so Velasquez's firearms and ammunition will be turned in. Nolan King also tweeted out, "Here is both the SJPD statement of facts, which details the situation, as well as the 10 charges." So he's getting 10 charges for this. Now I thought I had some of the tweets, and I do actually have it here on my other computer, which you guys can't see. So I'm gonna actually let you guys know how people are kind of supporting Cain Velasquez, and I want to know how you guys feel about this situation. So I'm going to be reading off some tweets from other UFC fighters / professional fighters. This tweet being from Marvin Vittori. "Cain got my support." Habib obviously posting a picture with him and Cain. Obviously they trained for years together over at AKA. Funky Ben Askren: "I don't want to live in a country where you can't shoot someone who sexually abused your child." Now I'm going to click on this. I want to see what people actually said in response to this one, because Cain actually shot the wrong person. So here's some of the replies to Funky Ben Askren saying, "I don't want to live in a country where you can't shoot someone who sexually abused your child." This one from Big Man and BK: "I think he shot the guy's father, Ben. They were both sitting in a car when Cain squeezed off. Bye. We have due process in this country. He didn't stop an assault. He shot at people who are presumed innocent until proven guilty. So, I mean, he did it. But there will be consequences for his actions." Obviously, Cain fired off. He let his emotions get the best of him. You have a poor, defenseless child in daycare. And this happens. Obviously, the people who were involved and got hurt because of this, you got to feel terrible about. Cain knew what he was doing. So you got to ask yourself, how does this play out in court? I'll tell you what, if this was a movie, it would be Undisputed. I don't know if you guys were out there are old enough to know what Undisputed is, but Wesley Snipes goes into jail facing a professional boxer who got locked up for beating the shit out of his girlfriend. And they end up getting into it, man. An amazing movie. Cain Velasquez, obviously no one's going to be messing with him. Actually, I kind of wonder about that, because if you're stepping into a prison out in California and you're a former UFC champion, I mean, I know a lot of people have gone to jail, but I've been locked up before for stupid shit in my past. But the only way that this can play out, if he's put into a dorm, is that who's ever running the dorm, the way the politics work, is, and it's all based on genders when you're in jail. You have the Latinos, which obviously Cain is going to be with them. You have, you guys know where I'm going with this without having to do all the math. But if you go in there and you beat the shit out of Cain Velasquez, you're now in charge of that room. No one's messing with you, man. No one's messing with you. But there is, there is a former heavyweight champion sitting in there who just shot at somebody for the molestation of one of his children or family members. So I don't know, man. I don't know how long he's going to be there or what's going to happen. Let's read some more of these tweets from other professional fighters. Now that we got Anthony Pettis saying free Cain, Derek Brunson, free Cain Velasquez. At the same time, someone needs to buy Cain some firearm courses for Christmas. That aim could use some work. That's kind of messed up coming from Derek Brunson, trying to put a spin of comedy on it. And I know my boy Adam Hunter over at my MMA Roasted is definitely going to, crack some jokes about this, but this is just an awful story. Why did Cain need to use a gun? And again, that tweet with somebody answering to Ben Askren, this is all alleged. Did Cain know for a fact that this happened? There is a due process. That's correct. But any father would react this way. Sadiq Youssef, he says, if the stuff about Cain is true, free him. So it looks like 100% of the UFC is behind him. Kyle Crutchmer, read this. I don't want to hear anything else about CTE or really any other shit. This dude protected his family. They released a scumbag. I've always been taught to protect my family, and that's at any cost. Free Cain. Now, obviously, that's going to come into play. CTE, brain damage. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, you're seeing GIFs of, the former champ's brutal fights. I mean, when I did my show with James McSweeney, he was there at UFC 100, where Cain Velasquez, JDS, he said those were the hardest hits he's heard in his entire life. And that's coming from a heavyweight. That's coming from a heavyweight right there. All right, let's get to a couple more of these before. Hey, what's going on here? Darren Wynn, I stand by Cain and his family in these hard times. Which, you got him, man. I mean, now, not only are they suffering, but they don't have Cain there by their side. They're worried that Cain now has to face even worse charges than the alleged child pedophile who's molesting somebody in a preschool. There's going to be a lot of people talking about gun rights. But I know, if anyone I know, especially here in the city, if you're molesting a 3-4-year-old child, you have to have proof to grab that gun and go off and do what Cain did. He knows what the consequences are. I hope that the alleged sex offender, I hope they find him absolutely guilty. I hope there is definite proof, because this is the saddest story. This is some Black Mirror twisted craziness going on right here with Cain Velasquez. And it's just so sad. LeVar Johnson also sending out a tweet to free Cain. Ryan Bader sharing the reports. I mean, Cain Velasquez, man, 4-year-old son. Okay. Allegedly, the 4-year-old son, I'm getting this from, whose account was this? Ryan Bader. Okay. And he is sharing a report of some more news. So Ryan Bader on his Instagram shares this article saying, when first hearing the news, I thought there has got to be something else to the story. Allegedly, the relative is his 4-year-old son. His 4-year-old son. I've known Cain for a long time, and despite his intimidating exterior, he is one of the nicest, caring dudes on the planet. and a straight up family man. Now, if you watch that season of Ultimate Fighter where we had Joe Giannetti, Bryce Mitchell, and all of them, you will also know that Cain Velasquez stepped in there to do some of the side coaching that was going down between teams DC and team Stipe Miocic. And it was kind of crazy to see. At one point, there was a fighter from Conor McGregor's gym having a full-blown panic attack right before his fight. Everyone was calling BS. Cain sits him down. And just like this article says, or just like Ryan Bader was saying, Cain was one of the nicest, calm and cool, collective people on that season. He wasn't into really playing any jokes. He was just calm, cool, collected, and happy with his life, which is an amazing sight to see, considering all the damage that he's taken over the years. And for sure, somebody like that would be a family man. So Ryan Bader goes on. Could he have handled things differently? ? Sure. Although most of us haven't been in this position, and who knows how you would react, which is true. Because I've been in crazy situations like when my girlfriend passed away, and people were blown away that I got into a relationship not too long after the death of my girlfriend. May she rest in peace. But, you don't know how you're going to react to certain situations. That act alone of my girlfriend passing away and being a huge part of it, her family not even speaking to me to this day, because I had her come pick me up from Ozfest, and she had a couple of drinks. I knew she had a couple of drinks, but I did not want to ride home with anyone else that was extremely intoxicated due to my upbringing around, alcoholism or whatnot. And unfortunately, that night, she got a flat tire. She pulled off to the side of the road. She even had my puppy with her to surprise me because I was so upset that I could not find a sober ride home, and how big of an anxiety it was for me. I wasn't able to enjoy myself during, Ozzy. I left at Mama, I'm coming home. It was very traumatizing. You don't know how you're going to react to it. I might have started to date a girl because I wanted to get my mind off of things. But you don't know what you'll do in that situation, which is why I find it really interesting when you watch those crime shows and you're hearing the commentator or a police say, she was not acting as if she just left from a murder scene. You don't know how you're going to react. If you guys have HBO, you might have watched Murder on Middle Beach, I believe it's called. That was my best friend's mother who was murdered. That's my best friend, Madison Hamburg. We played music together throughout the years. His mother was an amazing person. They never found the killer. And it was so weird because I remember going over to the house. They had some money. They had a really nice pool house, which is actually now a bed and breakfast. And for years, we had no idea that the father and sister lived in the pool house, like where they would park the cars. Upstairs, I guess there was a furnished apartment. I didn't even know he had a sister until 2 years into our friendship. And yet, they were both right there. There was something really weird about that. Never really spoke about his father or what he did. We all had our conspiracies that it was mafia, and the day that she was murdered was the day that they were going to court. I have not got myself around to watch that documentary because I was such a big part of it. So was my girlfriend who passed away. We were actually driving towards Madison's house when that happened. And when I was looking at Madison, and the way it's broken down is, a lot of the people in his family, including his sister, his aunt, his own father, were all suspects. And he's even told me very personal things, which I guess were told on the documentary over on HBO. And he even recently called me asking for some more information because I guess more information just came out and he's making a part 2. I don't know if I'm supposed to actually say that. Sorry if I did. Today's actually the anniversary of Barbara's death, Barbara Beach, Madison's mother. But, the stories of what went down that day between his sister, how she was acting, how she was late to school, and then ended up calling her Aunt Conway because she wasn't feeling well. And yet she goes home and they find Madison and Allie's mother under a bunch of pillow cases, which, if you watch Forensic Files, they would say it's usually due to somebody in the family or somebody close to them wanting to cover their face because it's terrifying to them. Like they feel bad for what they did. So you sit there and you think about it in your head. How is this one acting? The mother's dead. Their sister's dead. The father and the mother had court that day. How is he acting? You don't know how somebody is going to react in these situations. The accused man, so going further into Ryan Bader's IG post, the accused man, 43-year-old Harry Eugene Galarte, lives at home that hosts a daycare business run by his mother, according to a criminal complaint that charged Galarte with one felony count of a lewd and lascivious act with a child under the age of 14. Galarte was arraigned Friday, and a judge granted him supervised release over objections from the Santa Clara County District's Attorney's Office. I'm interested to read some of the tweets off of this, and I'm sorry if you're watching this on YouTube right now because I don't have this article up on the actual page. So here's some of Kane's fights. So let's read some of the comments that we got from this. Leo to Machida, free Kane. Double J MMA, kill all pedophiles, hashtag kill all pedophiles. Gray Maynard, one of the nicest and genuine people I know. Sick to my stomach about what happened to his son and what might happen to Kane. Hopefully our judicial system is hard on the pedophile and not him. It's just crazy. How is Kane? Well, he shot the wrong person. But how is the pedophile out? How is the pedophile out? His 4-year-old son? Now, this is actually kind of confusing because it says the accused man, 43-year-old Harry Eugene Galarte, who lives at home that hosts the daycare business run by his mother, according to a criminal complaint that charged Galarte with one felony count of a lewd and lascivious act with a child under the age of 14. I guess, is that saying that was somebody else, or is that saying that that was actually Kane's 4-year-old son? Because that's what it seems Ryan Bader is trying to tell us here. So let me know what you guys think about this. This is just absolutely disgusting. Would you do the same thing? As I mentioned before, you don't know. But the fact that Kane needed to use a gun, see, I don't really believe in guns. I do and I don't. I live in the city. I live in the third most dangerous city in America, guys. New Haven, Connecticut. Look it up. Third most dangerous city per capita in America. There's been tons of break-ins. My car's been broken into. My neighbor across the street last year had his car taken right out of his own driveway with cameras on it. The lady at the top of my road, if you pulled out the driveway, the lady at the top of the road killed her 2 children. She had 6 children, right? She had 4 of them taken away by the state. And her 2 youngest were left with her. Now, she had an insane breakdown. She brought the 2 children to McDonald's, I guess, for their last meal, put them in bed, and left the oven open or something like that. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Killed her 2 kids. There's been cases where, New Haven is just insane. Some of the stories that my mom even says, Because, working at the hospital over at Yale, there was a time, I think about 4 years ago, somebody actually grabbed her and said that he had a bomb. Around here, usually a 75, 76, 77-year-old woman is most likely packing. She's packing some heat. My uncle, a couple weeks ago, he works overnight. He gets home from work. He sees, as he gets out the car, goes inside. As he's walking back out to his truck to move it, because now his wife has to go to work, there is somebody there trying to go through his car. Now my uncle runs back in the house, grabs his gun, and points and aims it at this guy. Makes him sit on the curb until the police came. The guy ended up taking off, running away. Now, what if that guy had a gun? What if my uncle walked outside, saw his car getting robbed, and he had no protection? It's a scary thought. And until you're in that position, I'd rather be carrying in an area like this. But also the dangers of that. People are going to be talking about CTE. And should a fighter be able to have a firearm with all the head damage? Should players in the NFL, boxers, what have you, should they have rights to bear arms? I'm sure that's the story we're going to get out of this. But my heart really does go out to Kane's family, because now not only are they suffering with the thoughts of what occurred, but they also are now at a loss as their father figure, their champion, their warrior, their hero is being held behind bars for doing what any man in his position would most likely have done. I just really wish he did it in a different way. An 11-mile high-speed chase with Cain Velasquez shooting at your car, ramming you? All right, guys. Let's move on with our news, because that was pretty wild right there. And let me know how you think this is going to turn out. Let's get into our upcoming event, which is going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Here we go. All right, guys, back at it again. Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington are going in there. Former friends. Colby Covington with a record of 16-3. Jorge Masvidal with a record of 35-15. Now, before I discuss any more of this, somebody tweeted out one of the craziest MMA math figures I've ever seen. So let me show you what this kid tweeted out, because I had to respond that it never works. Don't come at me with MMA math ever, because it never, ever works out. So this is what this kid says. At BOGO MMA _ Colby Covington's MMA record is 16-3. Win percent equals 84.2%. Jorge Masvidal's MMA record is 35-15. Win percentage equals 70. Jorge Masvidal would have to win 45 straight fights, making his record 80-15, to equal Colby's win percentage of 84.2%. What? What are you giving me a betting tip here? Like what is that? So how did he take the time to sit there and go through Jorge Masvidal have to take 45 straight fights, making his record 80-15 to equal Colby's win percentage? Get out of my face with that. Go watch the old Kimbo fights, bro. This is an OG we're talking about here. New Jersey MMA Insight OG fan tweets, haven't looked, but I would say fight records in the UFC is more important than overall win percentage. Example, 7-4 in UFC is better than 10-1 and Cagezilla? Some of these responses, man. From MMA Squabbler. This can probably be an interesting one. Jorge fans must not hear this. They will tell you he still has his plastic BMF belt while Colby lost his interim belt a long time ago. Tito Little Bit Ortiz responds, interim titles are not real titles. They're first contender placeholders. And then, of course, my tweet, MMA math never works. Out. Oh my God, I'm ridiculous. MMA math never works out. Not ever. Not even one time. Because if you're a big bettor in the sport, sometimes you do kind of look deep into things. But guys, in mixed martial arts, we've seen the craziest outcomes. Look at Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. Look at Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey. I mean, there's the craziest things have happened. Look at John Bones Jones' rise to becoming champion and the odds against him. The young lad. You can't rely on MMA math unless you're Dylan Dennis fighting people with non-winning records. So I guess I should put that in our tweet of the week, I guess you should say. But let's jump back to UFC 272 here. Hopefully I got you guys still on page with me. So there's a couple of interesting fights here at UFC 272, which is going to be about $80 to buy. So let's take a look at this and try to figure out if our $80 is worth this card. Are they going to really sell this for $80? I still can't get my head around it while the fighters are all complaining that they don't get paid enough. So let's see what we got here. On the main card, Colby Covington, negative 320 favorite against Jorge Masvidal, plus 250 underdog. RDA returns against Renato Moicano. A really interesting fight. I would love to see the old school RDA. Who remembers when RDA was on such a tear? I mean, this is right when USADA was coming around, and RDA I thought was going to be unstoppable, especially after the fight that he had with Pettis, after the fight that he had with Cowboy. RDA looked freaking stoppable up until Eddie Alvarez beat him and took the title. And even then, I mean, Eddie Alvarez played it really smart, coming over from Bellator, which is another fighter we never thought from Bellator would come over, like Michael Chandler, and just used his wrestling. A lot of people weren't about it, but used his wrestling to get that spot for the title, and he beats RDA at a time where I really thought RDA was going to be unstoppable. Okay, so RDA with a record of 30-13, Renato Moicano 16-4. RDA with a number 6 rank, and Renato Moicano number 11. So this would be a huge win for Moicano. But I don't know, because you don't know what RDA is going to show up. Does RDA in his mind believe that he's going to have another run at the title? 155 pounds? He has a 2-inch disadvantage for reach. And his opponent is great on the ground. 50% win by decision for RDA. Man, I would love to see an RDA knockout, but 17% compared to 0% with Renato Moicano. Look at me looking at this math after I just got over talking about how MMA math never works, because you just don't know what's going to happen. But if I'm going to put my money on it, I'm taking RDA. If Renato Moicano takes this W from RDA, oh man, definitely worth part of the $80. Because if you break it down, how many fights are on a main card? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 cards. 5 divided into 8. You're basically paying 15, 30. You're paying $15 per fight, guys. $15 per fight. All right, so that's the co-main event. Very interesting. And the odds are actually really close. A negative 165 favorite for RDA, plus 145 for Renato Moicano. Now, this next matchup I find really interesting. Very, very interesting, actually. We got Edson Barboza at a plus 145 going against Bryce Mitchell at a negative 165. Now, am I crazy right now? Or is Bryce Mitchell versus Edson Barboza seriously about to go down at featherweight? Am I getting this mixed up? Bryce Mitchell's the favorite. Let me go to Tapology really quick because I feel like I'm messing things up now. I feel like I messed you guys all up. I don't know, am I betting that good? Because if you're telling me that Bryce Mitchell is a favorite in this fight, I'm taking Edson Barboza. And we're going to go to the good old trusty Tapology here. So let's check this out because I'm definitely going to take Edson Barboza, which is going to make Bryce Mitchell on a 2-fight losing streak. Let's see what we got here. If this slow-ass computer will catch up with me. It's going down on the 5th. So we got 2 days starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time on a frozen Tapology page. All right. 13 bouts in total. Okay, so Edson Barboza. Let's click on Edson Barboza, 22-10 record. Coming into this fight, let's see. Plus 130 underdog? He's a plus 130 underdog. Wow. He's also coming a loss to Giga in round 3. Before that, beating Shane Burgos and Makwan Americani. Before that, 3 straight losses. Danny, Paul Felder, and Justin Gaethje. Obviously, tough fights for him. A win over Dan Hooker back in 2018. Before that, 2 straight losses to Kevin Lee and Habib. Again, tough fights. And before that, 3 straight wins. Beneil Dariush, Gilbert Melendez, and Anthony Showtime Pettis. Before that, losing to Tony Ferguson, the killer, back in 2015 on the Ultimate Fighter 22 finale. That was a great finale, too. Season 22 was Conor McGregor's Uriah Faber. So, wow, man. Yeah, I'm going to take Edson Barboza on that. Let's look at Bryce Mitchell. 14. And why does it say Bryce Mitchell is 14-0 right now? That's not right. That is definitely not right. Hold on here. Am I tripping? Am I tripping right now? Because I thought he'd be on a 2-fight losing streak. Well, I guess I'm... Yeah, look, there's a loss right there to Brad Katona. Well, it was on the Ultimate Fighter. I swear that he lost to Charles Rosa. That's insane. Wow, yeah, I guess he lost. Wow. And then, TJ Brown, who also trains with Bryce Mitchell. Damn, man. I got it all messed up. Good thing I fact-checked for you guys. Bryce Mitchell is a favorite against Edson Jr. Barboza here. Both really close in the rankings. Bryce Mitchell at number 11, Edson at number 10. That should be a really good fight. Is it worth $15? Sure, got me there. So far, main event, Jorge Masvidal, Covington, $15, take it. RDA Moicano, $15, take it. Edson Barboza, Bryce Mitchell, take my money. Alex Oliveira versus Kevin Holland. Cowboy Oliveira. Remember when he was on the rise? Remember when Cowboy versus Cowboy? Remember back then? Who remembers back then? Kevin Holland at number 14, the Trailblazer. And Oliveira's not even ranked right now. Oliveira's last fight was a loss with a record of 22-11. Holland's record 21-7. Man, there's 4-inch height advantage for Kevin Holland. Ooh, damn. And about a 4.5-inch reach advantage as well. Kevin Holland, 21-7. Alex Oliveira. I mean, Alex Oliveira can sometimes pull the rabbit right out of the hat. We've seen it happen a couple times before in the past. He's on a 3-fight losing streak right now. So what the hell happens to him if he loses? Isn't it crazy how careers, you look at somebody like this. We look at somebody like Cowboy Oliveira. And you don't think you would ever lose him. He had such a name going for him. He was taking fights. He was putting on amazing fights. Now he's in a situation where he's 3 straight losses. 3 straight losses going up against Kevin Holland. Cowboy not even top 15. Kevin Holland also on a 3-fight losing streak. Well, actually, I take that back. 2-fight losing streak. Tapology has Fury Pro Grappling 3 loss on there to Cody Harmar. But a loss to Marvin Vettori and a loss before that to Derek Brunson, both last year in 2021. His last win coming in 2020 against Ronaldo Souza, Jacare Souza. Man, both these guys are really fighting for the... Well, not really. Kevin Holland on a 3-fight losing streak and still top 15. I mean, I guess they can just kind of switch spots, I guess, at the top 15. But, man, what the hell's going on at middleweight right there? And then Sergey Spivak, 13-3, going up against Greg Hardy. That's going to be an interesting fight. Because Greg Hardy, man, say what you will about him. Another guy coming in here. I've discussed this before in the past, you guys, how I feel about Greg Hardy. And it's hard to forgive somebody who beat the shit out of their wife or girlfriend and gets kicked out of the NFL, but we welcome him as a new changed man in mixed martial arts where he's beating up other big-ass dudes and knocking them out. I mean, it kind of makes me feel even worse for the victim. But, from interviews I've seen, he does seem like a really nice guy. We all have a path that we're on, and we have to make the best decisions. Sometimes we don't, but it's just hard, man. I mean, I like rooting for him as a fighter in there. I like, picking him to win some money. But unfortunately for Greg Hardy, he has that dark past. I've even seen interviews with James Lynch where, he has to shut off the comments because he's in fear of the backlash. So it's rough, man. Greg Hardy coming off 2 straight losses, one against Tai Tuivasa, who just had an amazing win over Derek Lewis, and Marcin Tybura. Both losses via TKO. Round 2 against Tybura via ground and pound, and a counter hook ground and pound round 1 against Tai Tuivasa, man. I mean, shit ain't easy in the UFC, guys. A lot of people say it's easier to make it to the UFC than it is to make it back to the UFC. But before that, man, he had a nice little run going here. He has a pretty decent record. They weren't really rushing him into the UFC, but they really did. I mean, as soon as I saw him take that fight against, who was it against? Volkov, I was like, man, they're moving him a little too fast. I thought they had him, whoever was managing him, had him at the right pace. I know that he learned a lot against Volkov, went to a decision, and that's going back to 2019. That's 3 years ago. So let's see how much he's really improved as a fighter. As for his opponent here, let's see what his opponent, 7-4. Let me see what the... So Greg Hardy, plus 180, slight underdog against Sergey the Polar Bear Spivak, who's 13-3. Jeez, born 1995. Guy's 6'3", fighting out of Moldova. All right, so he's coming off a loss against Tom Aspinall via elbow to ground strikes in the first round. So we can look forward to a pretty exciting first round, if you ask me right there. Before that, he had a 3-fight win streak going for him against Olenek, Jared Vandara, and Carlos Felipe. Before that, losing to Marcin Tybura. He has a win over Tai Tuivasa, a loss over Walt Harris. And before that, Jesus, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9-fight win streak. Before that, getting signed to the UFC back in 2019. So they both kind of, grew up together here. Obviously, the polar bear with a 13-3 record, a little bit more advanced. But who would I take? Definitely worth the money. I don't know if this is on the main card still, is it? Yeah. What a great fight. Start the main card too. Take my money. Definitely worth the $80. If we're looking at this, we got Greg Hardy, Kevin Holland, Cowboy Oliveira, Bryce Mitchell, Edson Barboza, RDA, Moicano, Colby, and Masvidal. Now, let's talk about Colby Masvidal for a second here. Interesting fight. Let me close the door. Nope, stay right there. All right, door is closed. Come here, Oscar. Come here, buddy. Ow. Oh. Ow. Oh, my God. That fucking hurt. What the fuck? Fuck. That just fucking hurt so bad. Oh, my God. I just banged my leg so freaking hard. Oh, again, you guys can't even see it, right? Right here, I got my new baby pet rat. Oh my God. Got my new baby pet rat in there. 5-0. Because unfortunately, Sirius Black and Trigger sadly passed away. But I got this thing here. The dog started barking. I had to make sure the door was closed. Run back here. Right where you're... right on the side of my knee where I had surgery on my meniscus. Or the opposite side. Just hit so freaking hard. Man, so you want to be a fighter, they say. All right, so an interesting matchup, right? Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal ranked number 6, Covington at number 1. And clearly, both of these guys taking some brutal losses to the champ, Kamaru Usman. Another guy, I really never thought Usman would be where he's at this day and age. He may not be the most exciting fighter, people were saying. He was only coming at 30% when I interviewed his brother about 4 or 5 years ago. Knocks out Masvidal. We had some of the most exciting main events for Colby Covington versus Usman. I mean, that first fight, man. That first fight. That was like Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald. It was that intense. And are we going to get that out of Jorge Masvidal versus Covington? I shared the tweet. Well, I shared this on the last podcast where they're going back and forth with Stephen A. Smith. Jorge Masvidal saying Colby Covington's got fake teeth. Bro, that is such a low blow. If they're actually friends, you're not saying that. He's also calling Colby Covington out for being in debt to a ton of loan sharks. Colby Covington, man. I remember interviewing this guy. He wasn't even ranked. Was complaining that he wasn't in the UFC video game. You guys hear it from me all the time. But what a fighter this man is. His last 2 losses are from Usman. But before that, check this out. Beating Woodley, beating Lawler, beating RDA. The RDA fight, definitely thought he was going to lose. Damian Maia, definitely thought he was going to lose that. Dong Hyun Kim. Brian Barberina, Max Griffin, Jonathan Menier. And then his last loss was 2015 against Worley Alves, which clearly a tough fight. Before that, went over Mike Pyle, beat Wagner Silva. Man, coming into the UFC 2014. 2014. Still at the top. Let's take a look at Jorge Masvidal's career here. Man, honestly, I'm picking Colby Covington to take this fight. Do I think it goes to decision? Maybe. I'm like 75% positive it's going to go to a decision, but I would love to see it finished fast. Finished fast. All right, his last 2 losses, also to Kamaru Usman. Before that, win over Nate Diaz with the BMF title, which I spoke about on the last podcast. Not happy about that. Before that, that flying knee to Ben Askren. I did a live fight companion for that. That was the same night that Amanda Nunes Holly Holm. Before that, won over Darren Till. Before that, lost to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. A loss to Damian Maia, understandable. Wins over Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Win over Jake Ellenberger. and a win over Ross Pearson. Damn. Before that, lost to Lorenz Larkin and Benson Henderson. Man, this guy's been around the block. And he wasn't really getting the recognition until recently. I'm really excited for this. I think this pay-per-view will do pretty well. If you ask me how many buys, I'm not sure. But I think it will do better than the last pay-per-view. What was the last pay-per-view that we had? It was actually pretty freaking good. And it was Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. That's right. I'm actually more excited about this. We got some great fights out of the last pay-per-view. This main card, man, I'm excited for it. So let me quickly just run down what's going to be on the prelims here, because I'm sure there's a couple of fights on there that might be exciting. Let's see. Brian Keller on here going up against Umar Nurmagomedov, who's undefeated. That should be a great fight. At featherweight, Tim Elliott making his return against Tagir Ulanbekov. That sounds like it's right out of PFL. That's like a PFL fight right there. And with Tim's record, man, he's like win, loss. Man, this is a guy who almost beat the champ, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. And to see, for Tim Elliott, man, he did amazing on that season of Ultimate Fighter as well, but he's had one hell of a career. Stretches a long ways. Record 17-12, and some amazing fights in there too. That main event where he almost beat Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson multiple times. Almost tapped him out multiple times. Well, look at this. Look at this career. Look at this career. Making his UFC debut in 2012, guys. Obviously getting kicked out of the UFC, making his return on the Ultimate Fighter Season 24, which was in 2016. That just made me feel old. And he was on a killing spree on there. But then he did lose to Mighty Mouse. After that, a win against Louis Samoka, a loss to Ben Wynn, a win over Mark De La Rosa, 3 straight losses, and then he beats Ryan Benoit and Jordan Espinoza, both decisions. And his last fight was a loss to Matthias Nicolou via decision. So I even tweeted at him, good luck, man. I'm always rooting for him. He's a plus 205 moderate underdog. I might put some money on that. But let me know what you guys think about this pay-per-view. Is it worth the $80? Remember, it's $15 per fight, which it's a lot of money, man. And for fighters who are not getting what they want out of it either. So there you guys have it. Another episode of Pure Evil MMA previewing UFC 272. Definitely take my money for that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. My heart and everyone here listening. Let's just have a moment of silence without some Suicide Boy beat in the background. My apologies. Let's just have a moment of silence for the Velasquez family. Amen. Man, I hope Kane stays strong. I hope that Kane's family stays strong, even though that they don't have the strongest part of their family by their side, sadly. So, guys, that does it. Make sure to subscribe down below on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. If you're watching this live on YouTube, thank you so much, because we have finally made a return to YouTube, and I'm proud of myself doing this in the middle of the day. It's now 3:30. I think this is about an hour broadcast, hour and 15 minutes, I believe, something like that. So I'm proud. I promised you guys I was making my comeback. 2022 is the year of pure evil, because without evil there is no purity. Also, mentioned this earlier, the merch store is up. Let me show you guys. Oh my god, I always mess this up somehow. is at pureevilmma.storeenvy.com. I just designed new hats, snapback hats. I can't wait to order it. And I literally just designed today Pure Evil MMA earrings, which I can't wait to rock. One earring says pure, the other one says evil. I think that's pretty badass. I'm barely making anything off of these, unfortunately. But guys, anything helps me, because I was trying to think about the best way to support the podcast. And, Patreon, I don't really understand that. So if you guys would be able to help me out, I'm trying to figure out the super chat as well. I really want to make this a full-time career, a full-time living off of covering mixed martial arts. Somebody's always next in line for what you want to do. All you need to do is put in the hard work. We've seen it happen before our eyes because we watch mixed martial arts. We've seen the underdogs come from behind. And right now, Pure Evil MMA is a huge underdog. So I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in. Even if you can't afford anything, just by watching the show, giving me a thumbs up and subscribing. Leave a review on iTunes. That really helps me, guys. Go to, if you're on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening, and be honest. Be honest about your review, what you think about the show, what you would like to see in the show, and how you found the show. That always helps the podcast out a lot. Well, that does it for this episode of Pure Evil MMA. And remember, without evil, there's no purity. White knuckles till the end. Behave yourselves.